G'day everyone, I'm Smokescreen and welcome back to another video, and here we go with the next round of the Toyota GR Cup for 2021. I think this was round 3. I did this race like over 2 weeks ago. I think it was about 2 weeks ago actually, so it's taken me a while to get this one and you'll kind of see why. I mean, you can see it's only a 15-minute video, so can't be too fantastic, but here we go. I managed to once again get myself into the top split, 16th on the grid, and it was actually an absolute wonder that I actually managed to even connect to this one, because I was right in the midst of a very big disconnect festival that was going on in my campaign at the moment. And we'll see if we actually manage to get a decent result. We don't even have to attempt to suffer a disconnect in this round, but we'll see how we go. We go out for qualifying, so you can see the combination now. We're in the Super Formula Toyota car around Suzuka, and of course we're all using the Toyota because it's the Toyota Cup, so it's a one make. But here we go, out for qualifying. Let's do a little bit of a lap guide of Suzuka circuit, but not before we manage to dip 2 wheels into the grass and the exit of the final corner onto the start of our qualifying lap. So that is not good at all, but we're just going to be spamming that overtake button. We're looking on the left hand side, 50 meter board and turn in, then hit the brakes on the apex of turn 1. The car's really stable, there's a lot of downforce, you can basically go to 100% braking, and then heading up into the snake section. Turn 3 is flat out, turn 4 is a feather of the throttle and a downshift, and then turn 5 is just half on the curb to pull the car around. Turn 6 is just coasting around, no brakes, and to try and open up turn 7, the Dunlop corner, to try and get it as flat out as possible. And heading up towards the Degnas, Degna 1 is flat out when you get it right, turning in on the 50, a little bit too wide, but then on the brakes, just about before the end of the curb for Degna 2, a little bit wide, so not the best lap. We've got some overtake, and then the hairpin, right hand side, end of the curb, and then first gear for rotation. I'm actually supposed to short shift up to second before I even get on the power, but I didn't quite do that and had to suffer through first gear on the exit. So losing a little bit of time, but heading around the long turn 12 and heading into spoon curve. Just on the 50 meter board, really aggressive brake and turn in at the same time. Onto the curb, don't touch the Astro, and then braking before the end of the curb on the right to turn in for the second part of spoon. I was a little bit wide though, so not the best run. And then down the back straight, heading up towards 130R. It's easily flat out in this car here, but overtake all the way down through 130R, and then looking on the left hand side, braking just before the 100 meter board, and then we're going to try and get 2 wheels on this curb, 4 wheels on this curb, but don't quite cut that as much as I could, and we come down towards the line. I've only got 1.5 minutes left, which is not enough time to get an out lap done, so my second qualifying lap is a continuation of this run, and we'll see if we can improve anywhere on the circuit. So into turn 1 and 2, do we meet that apex a lot better? We actually meet that apex a lot better that time. That was a better rendition of turn 1. And then turn 3, we just clatter that curb on the left-hand entry portion of the snake too much. You can see we're just out of rhythm. We're not in the rhythm through this snaking section, and it really put me off by the end of it. But on the exit here, really not much to write home about. We're just going to fast forward. We get a better Degna 2 and better hairpin, I believe. But unfortunately, I'm running out of that overtake, so the spoon is going to be a place where we can gain. I actually meet that second apex at turn 14 this time. A little bit of overtake left on the exit, but I've run out now, so I'm going to be losing time. I'm 4 tenths down. There's really not much I can do, but we cut this second part of the chicane a lot better. Try and get on the power on the exit, keep it tight, and we're half a second off. So the best time I could muster, a 1:36.6. You can see McEwen puts in a 34.9, so I definitely had a lot more room to improve. And we're going to have a look at the points, see what they're like. 318 for the victory, but I'm down in 11th. So I'm going to be starting on the hard tyre, which is the hardest of the 3 available. So now we can talk about the strategy. So we've got hard, medium and soft tyres available, but only the hard are mandatory. So what we do is spend as little amount of time on the hard, and then the soft tyres last long enough to do whatever is left, so you don't even have to use the mediums. So it's a one-stop race. Because we're deep in the field, we're going to be starting on the hard tyre, but that unfortunately does mean we have to suffer with this hard tyre at the start of the race. So here we go. Standing start, so we're going to be suffering with not much grip, but we just move that brake balance to +4 to try and iron out some understeer, and then traction control 1, waiting for the 5 lights, and off we go. Lovely. Okay, so traction control off. We're going to flick over to the radar in a second. I've got a car going up my inside already. Side org moves across. I move to the inside to follow Corey, and we'll have a look. Someone's out wide, old mate, and someone else. I didn't quite catch who he was. Both wide off the track, so I've made up 2 positions, or I lost a position and gained 2 positions, so we're equalised in 10th, although what's that, an overall gain of 1 position. We started 11th, didn't we? But basically what I'm doing here is I'm trying to work out what I can do in terms of strategy. How long can I actually stay on these hard tyres to sort of get myself an advantage by the end? I'm kind of inclined to do a little bit more, you know, a couple more laps on the hard tyre than anybody else, because it might give the field a chance to spread out a bit, which by the time I get onto my soft tyre, I might be able to fall into a gap. I get up the inside of side org here, a little bit of contact on the way through. Some people won't like that move that I did there, but I think he left the door open just enough, and, you know, it's not like I was just my front wing ahead. I had about half a car in there, and there was a little bit of contact on the apex, but I managed to sort of get away from him there, so I'm happy. I'm satisfied with that move. I made the intentions quite clear, so we managed to get ourselves up into 9th, based on pace alone. But he's got an opportunity to get me back into the chicane, very hard braking zone at the end of this long, flat-out section. And coming in towards the braking zone, he's got a good opportunity to get up the inside, but he was not quite close enough on that occasion. And now, unfortunately, what that means is, because this main straight is not long enough to slipstream past somebody, he's going to be suffering the dirty air all the way through this first sector, and that's absolutely detrimental in these cars, because you can have a look at the car. Super Formula's got a lot of aero work, a lot of aerodynamic components, front wing, rear wing, sort of all these end plates and winglets and turning vanes on these cars. So a lot of sort of aero disturbance happens behind, and then in turn affects the aero of the car behind, and that's exactly what happened. But we skip ahead, if you happen to notice. You probably did, because all of the cars in front of me disappeared suddenly, but here we go. Mint Matt is making his way through the field, so I'm not quite sure what happened to him at the start of the race, although based off what his car looks like, a lime green car, maybe he ran very wide at the exit on turn 1, lap 1, might have been the car I couldn't identify, so therefore he's presumably going to be on the soft tyre at the moment, so he's caught up to the back of me very, very quickly, and you can see that heading into Spoon, he just makes a massive gain on the entry portion there. And because I'm sliding around on my hard tyre, I haven't got the grip that he does. He gets his way up the inside on the exit of Spoon, and yes, a lime green car. I'm going to go out on a limb and say he was the second car that ran wide on turn 1. But here we go, he makes his way past. There's no real reason to hold him up. Not that I could, even if I tried, because he's a lot faster than me at this point. But here we go, through the chicane, the end of the 3rd lap. I believe someone goes into the pits. Viper Z goes into the pits at the end of lap 3. I'm going to stay out for another lap. I think it's another lap. It might even be another 2, but here we go. By the time we get to the hairpin on this lap, the Meta 7 gear has caught up behind me, so I am on the back foot, as having started on the hard tyre, and that was kind of to be expected. But here we go, he bumped me a little bit wide at the hairpin, so he's got now an overlap, so a little bit of a bump and run in my opinion. But here we go, he's going to go up the inside of Spoon, a little bit of contact between us on the apex, and he's got a half-second penalty for it. That's a little bit unfortunate, because I'm not quite sure whether he deserved a penalty, although he did bump me wide at the hairpin. I guess you could say that was penalty deserved, but he gets his way past in a rather strong move, but it's all good. I'm not going to worry too much about it. I've got an opportunity to get past at the chicane, but he runs very defensive. There's no opportunity for me to get past, and then I happen to brake a little bit too late, and I just get onto that green AstroTurf. There's no grip there, and here we go. We managed to get out of the chicane. We've lost a further 2 positions from trying to get Meta 7 gear back, but here we go. He serves the penalty here, and we've actually got an extra 2 laps, so this is lap 5. And I believe I go into the pits on the end of this lap, but we'll see whether we actually do. But catching up to the back of Meta 7 gear, does it give me an opportunity to go up the inside? He doesn't, not quite close enough there, but we managed to actually hit the apex of the Casio triangle, hit this time, and then we're going to come in towards the pit lane. Bang! Straight into the pit wall like an absolute idiot. I had no idea that the pit entry wasn't flat out. I thought it was flat out. I thought you could just dip straight into the pits on full throttle, and evidently you can't. So I slammed square into the pit wall, and I do sort of do a little bit of a half flick spin into the pit, so didn't lose as much time as I would have if I continued on with that lap, but still, it's not ideal to run into the pit wall, because the people that did successfully get into the pits are going to make a massive gain on you, and now, massive gain on me. Just bloody own it, mate. But here we go. I've got a 1.5 second penalty to boot as well, so you might have seen that flash up with a barrier collision as the reason, so not quite understanding the reasoning behind the penalty there, but here we go. Just heading through this opening sector. I've got Ironmask behind, but he did not manage to catch up to me. I am on fresh soft tyres, but he will get past me as I serve this penalty, and there we go. So I serve that penalty. I'm square in last position, 17th out of 17th. Had a couple of people quit. But now I know that I'm on the soft tyre, and I can run quite hard. I didn't refuel when I did my pit stop. I could have easily refueled. I had a bit of refueling to do, but I didn't. I decided I'm going to try and save that bit of fuel to try and make a gain on some people. And thankfully, I actually didn't have that much to do as we go up the inside of Ironmask at the Casio Triangle of lap 9. A couple people in the pits ahead, so some positions to potentially gain on the exit here. And we're just going to run down the main straight as Ironmask gets into my slipstream. He's going to suffer the dirty air effects through the opening sector, so I'm not too concerned about him getting me back. But let's have a go. We get ahead of Meta 7 gear there, so I managed to crash into the pit wall and serve a penalty, and he still comes out behind me, so he's obviously lost his pace or had a massive crash or something. Some more people in the pits on the next tour of Suzuka on the end of lap 10. Crossing the line there. It's very consistent laps, 139's up the board since my pit stop, and then we get past Hyperdrift on the exit of the pit lane up into 13th. So lovely, and we've got a 4.5 second gap to old mates. It's going to take a bit of time to get that position back up, and we'll see how long that takes, and it actually takes to the end of the race. So yeah, a really boring race, but one thing I will say is look at that consistency on the right hand side. 39.4, 39.9, 39.5, 39.4, 39.7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 9. But here we go, catching up to old mate in the slipstream, heading through 130R, and I think he's run out of fuel, and I just get around his inside. My goodness, that was one of the closest moments I've ever had. That was a large brown pants moment, but we managed to just about make one position up at the end of the race and come across the line in 12th. A really disappointing result, to be honest, because, I mean, I'll have a look at the time there. I was 1 second off Corey. I would have definitely been ahead of Corey if I didn't crash, and I could have even been ahead of Brian as well if I sort of just had a better first stint, basically. So there was definitely some more time to be gained. I'm happy with the second stint, very consistent 139s, but at the end of the day, a very disappointing result coming home in 12th. 172 points, not the end of the world, but it's a good 50 points less than I would generally expect to get. And in line with that, I'm going to try in the second and final slot of this round of the Toyota GR-GT Cup. But here we go, as we're sitting here preparing a match. Oh yeah, that was a really painful disconnect, that one. So yes, the disconnect monster claims me again, and there's not really anything I can do about that. That's the second and final slot, and there's nothing I can do. That's it. So I bring home 172 points for that round. Really, really disappointing, because I felt as though there was definite positions to gain by simply not crashing on the way to the pits, but oh man, you know, you can't win them all. Not all of them are going to be great, and you know, I definitely like to show one. You know, as always, I like to show the bad as well as the good. I'm not this perfect, great, amazing, clean driver all the time. I do make mistakes, and that entire round was a mistake in itself. I don't even know. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? Should not have done that round whatsoever. But look, I kind of have to just live that one down. I didn't have an opportunity to sort of redeem myself. So, you know, look at me. I'm the guy who crashed in the pit lane entry in Suzuka. How good. But that's going to finish up this one. There's not much more else to say, so do hit that like button if you enjoyed, and do subscribe if you'd like to see more videos from me. Do leave a comment as well. Questions, comments, and constructive criticism, as always, very much appreciated. But that's going to be the end of this one today, and that means that is it from me. So once again, I do thank you very much for watching. See you later.